Okay, so I need to tell you something. And honestly, today might completely dissolve everything you thought you knew and rebuild it into something far more real. I'm not exaggerating. Today, March 22nd, Mercury forms an exact conjunction with Neptune in Pisces. And I know that might sound like just another transit to some people, but stay with me here. This is not just another astrological event. This is the moment the veil between what you think and what you feel becomes paper thin. If you've been living in a fog lately, second-guessing your intuitions, misreading signals, feeling like your mind is underwater, there's a very specific cosmic reason for that. And today, that fog doesn't just lift. Today, you're being asked to walk straight through it. But here's what really gets my attention. This isn't going to land the same way for everyone. For 3 specific zodiac signs, today represents something enormous, like soul-level enormous. And if you're one of those 3 signs, Pisces, Scorpio, or Virgo, you need to hear this, because I genuinely believe you are standing at the threshold of a perception shift that has been building for weeks, maybe even months. But we'll get there. First, I need to explain what's actually happening right now, because if you don't understand the setup, the specific pressure that's been accumulating under the surface, you won't fully feel why this particular conjunction hits so hard and so deep. So let's be honest for a second. The past few weeks have been strange, right? And I don't mean in an, oh, things feel a bit off kind of way. I mean genuinely disorienting. Like you've been trying to form clear thoughts, make clear decisions, communicate clearly. And something keeps blurring the edges, like trying to read in a dream. And if that's been your experience, you are absolutely not imagining it. Here's what's been happening beneath the surface. And this was a huge realization for me when I finally put it all together. Mercury has been traveling through Pisces for a significant stretch of time now. And Pisces is the most spiritually charged, emotionally deep, boundary-dissolving sign in the entire zodiac. Mercury, the planet of logic, language, linear thinking, data, analysis, does not feel at home in Pisces at all. In Pisces, Mercury doesn't think in straight lines. It thinks in impressions, in symbols, in half-formed feelings that are impossible to articulate. It dreams instead of strategizes. And now today, right now, Mercury is making an exact conjunction to Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, the planet of illusion, transcendence, spiritual vision, and yes, confusion. These 2 planets are merging in the same degree of the same sign, Mercury and Neptune, together in Pisces. You want to understand what that feels like energetically? Imagine trying to tune a radio when every station is bleeding into every other station at once. The signal is there. Something real and important is being transmitted, but separating it from the noise, from the static, from the interference, that is the challenge of this exact moment. This is why your thoughts have felt slippery. This is why conversations have gone sideways, why you've misread texts or emails, why you've said one thing and meant another, or heard something completely different from what was actually said. Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces makes the mind extraordinarily receptive, almost psychically so, but it also makes the mind extraordinarily susceptible to confusion, projection, and misinterpretation. And here's the thing. The universe wasn't doing this to you randomly. This wasn't punishment or bad luck. This was a necessary dissolution, because sometimes clarity can only come after confusion. Sometimes you have to lose the rigid shape of a thing before you can see its true nature. The fog you've been walking through, it was preparing you for what happens today. Today, March 22nd, Mercury and Neptune meet at the same degree in Pisces. And I really want you to feel the weight of this, not just intellectually, but in your body. Because this conjunction doesn't just affect how you think, it affects what you believe is real. Mercury rules your conscious mind. Your ability to name things, categorize them, communicate them, and make decisions based on them. Neptune rules everything your conscious mind cannot reach: the subconscious, the collective, the intuitive field, the spiritual undercurrent of reality that runs beneath everything you can see and touch and measure. When these two planets merge, the membrane between those two worlds becomes permeable. Thoughts that feel like your own might actually be picking up on the emotional atmosphere around you. Gut feelings that you've been dismissing as irrational might be more accurate than any logical analysis. Dreams you've had this week might be trying to tell you something your waking mind has been too defended to hear. This is why, in a few hours, if you haven't already felt it, you may notice something unusual happening to your perception. Colors might seem more saturated. Music might hit deeper. A conversation might feel like it carries a meaning far beyond the literal words being spoken. Someone might say something offhand and it lands in you like a prophecy. That's not coincidence. That's Mercury Conjunct Neptune doing exactly what it does, dissolving the wall between the seen and the unseen. But, and this is critical, this energy also carries a shadow. Neptune's greatest gift and Neptune's greatest danger are the same thing: the dissolution of boundaries. In the highest expression, that dissolution brings compassion, spiritual insight, creative vision, and mystical awareness. In the lower expression, it brings self-deception, escapism, confusion, and susceptibility to manipulation. Right now, both possibilities are equally active. The question is which one you're going to inhabit. Okay, so even though the exact conjunction is happening today, I want to be real with you. These transits don't flip on and off like a light switch. The energy builds, it seeps in around the edges. And if you've been experiencing any of these things over the past few days, it's because you were already picking up the signal before the transmission reached full volume. You've been having unusually vivid, emotionally intense dreams. Not just memorable dreams, dreams that felt more real than waking life. Dreams where someone said something to you that you're still thinking about. Dreams that felt like they were happening in a different layer of reality. That's Neptune saturating your Mercury. That's your subconscious speaking in full sentences. You've been finding it difficult to hold a single clear thought for very long. Ideas drift. Conversations meander. You start a sentence and lose the thread. This isn't a cognitive problem. This is your mental architecture being temporarily softened so that something deeper can get through the cracks. You felt emotionally porous, absorbing other people's moods, picking up on tension in a room before anyone has said a word, feeling inexplicably sad or inspired or moved without an obvious cause. That's the Neptunian field opening you up. You are receiving more information than usual right now. Your sensitivity is at an all-time high. And maybe, you've had moments of sudden, inexplicable knowing. A flash of clarity so crisp and specific that it startled you. A realization that arrived not through reasoning, but through some other channel entirely. Hold on to those. Write them down, because those flashes are the gift inside this transit. That's Mercury touching Neptune and pulling back something true. If any of that resonates, you're already in the deep end of this energy. And today, March 22nd, it reaches its exact peak. But here's where it gets even more layered. And this is why I said today could change things at a fundamental level. Mercury, conjunct Neptune in Pisces, isn't happening in a vacuum. It's landing in the context of everything that's already been activated this month. We are already in the wake of the vernal equinox. The sun has recently moved into Aries. The astrological new year has begun. There is this enormous forward momentum in the collective field, this drive toward action, toward initiation, toward becoming. And yet, right in the middle of all that fire and forward charge, today brings this deep, still wavering pool of Neptunian awareness. It's asking you to pause, not to stop, to pause, to feel what you actually know before you act on what you merely think. Because here's the thing about Neptune. Neptune doesn't lie to you. Neptune shows you what you want to believe. Yes, that's the shadow. But Neptune's highest function is to reveal the truth that logic alone could never access. The truth about a relationship that every rational justification has been papering over. The truth about a professional path that looks right on paper but feels hollow in your chest. The truth about who you are beneath the identity you perform for the world. Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces today is giving you a direct line to that level of truth. The question is whether you're brave enough to receive it. And the answer, honestly, the answer is that you already are. You wouldn't be here, tuning into this, if you weren't ready. All right, so this is what you've been waiting for. Let me break down what's happening specifically for Pisces, Scorpio, and Virgo. Because the way this conjunction is hitting your charts right now, it is not subtle, not small. I genuinely believe that if you're one of these three signs, today is one of those days you look back on later and say, that's the moment I started seeing things clearly for the first time in years. Pisces. Let me tell you something. You have been living inside this energy for weeks. Mercury has been transiting your first house, your house of identity, self, physical presence, the face you show the world. And Neptune, your ruling planet, is also there. Has been there for years, actually, slowly dissolving and reconstructing who you believe yourself to be at the most fundamental level. But today, with Mercury forming this exact conjunction to Neptune in your first house, something crystallizes, and that might sound paradoxical. How does a Neptune transit crystallize anything? But here's what I mean. You have spent so long being told that your intuitions aren't logical, that your emotional readings of situations aren't data, that your way of knowing is somehow less valid than analysis and reason. Today, your mind and your soul are speaking the same language at the same time, and that is the crystallization. The split between your intellectual self and your intuitive self, that gap closes today. If you've been struggling to articulate something you deeply know, a truth about yourself, a realization about a relationship, a creative vision you haven't been able to find the words for, today the words arrive. Not because you figured it out analytically, because you finally stopped trying to force it into a logical framework and let it come through as it naturally needed to. Pisces, your communication around your own identity becomes both more honest and more powerful today. If there is a conversation you've been avoiding because you didn't know how to say what you needed to say, today you find the words, and they come out softer and more true than anything you could have scripted. And there's more. Mercury, conjunct your ruler in your first house, also represents an opening of your perceptive field that is genuinely unusual. You might find today that you know things about people around you that you have no rational basis for knowing. You might pick up on what someone is really feeling beneath what they're saying. You might have a conversation where every word lands on a double meaning, and you understand both layers simultaneously. This is your natural gift being turned up to full volume. Pisces. Today is the day you stop apologizing for how your mind works and start understanding it as the extraordinary instrument it actually is. You're not confused. You're multi-frequency. And today, every frequency is alive. Scorpio. Oh, Scorpio. Oh, I think this transit is landing for you in one of the most significant ways possible, and I want to make sure you feel the full weight of it. Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces is activating your fifth house, the house of creative expression, romance, pleasure, play, and the things you make that carry your essence into the world. For the past few weeks, you may have felt creatively blocked or emotionally tangled in ways that were difficult to name. Romantic situations may have seemed clouded. You couldn't tell what was real feeling and what was projection. Creative projects may have felt like they were moving through resistance, like the vision was there, but the execution kept sliding away. That has been Neptune fogging your fifth house, while Mercury struggled to think clearly inside it. But today, that fog becomes intentional mist rather than blinding cloud. And there is a difference. Mist is beautiful. Mist softens the hard edges and shows you the shape of things without the harsh contrast of full daylight. And Scorpio, you know better than any sign alive that the most important truths live in the spaces between the obvious. Today, a creative or romantic revelation arrives for you, something you've been circling, a truth about a relationship that you've been feeling around the edges of but haven't wanted to name directly, or a creative insight about a project that cracks it wide open. It surfaces today, and it surfaces gently, which might actually be the surprise. You're used to your revelations arriving with force. Today's comes in quietly, like something that has always been there, finally deciding to let itself be seen. If you're in a romantic situation that has felt unclear or undefined, today brings clarity. Not necessarily in the form of a dramatic confrontation or resolution, though that's possible, but in the form of simply knowing. You look at the situation and something in you settles, either into certainty that this is real and worth pursuing, or into the quiet recognition that it isn't what you needed to believe it was. Both of those are gifts, Scorpio. Both of those are Mercury and Neptune in your 5th house, giving you the truth you've been asking for. Creatively, this is an extraordinarily potent day. Whatever you make or create or imagine today carries an unusual charge. Put something into the world, even if it's small. Write something. Paint something. Sing something in your kitchen when no one is listening. The channel is open. Use it. Virgo. This one is going to be intense, so I want you to stay with me. Mercury is your ruling planet. You feel every Mercury transit more viscerally than almost any other sign, and Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces is happening in your 7th house, the house of partnership, one-to-one relationships, the other in every meaningful connection you hold. Here's the thing about Virgo in the 7th house in Pisces. This has been a long process of dissolution for you around your relationships, who you think your people are, what you believe a partnership should look like, the standards you hold yourself to inside your most intimate connections. Neptune has been dissolving the rigid structure of all of that, slowly, sometimes painfully, for years. And today Mercury joins Neptune there, and suddenly you can put language to what's been happening. Because that has been the hardest part for you, hasn't it? As a Virgo, you need to be able to think through what you're feeling. You need to analyze it, understand it, name it with precision. And Neptune's influence on your 7th house has made that almost impossible. Everything in your relationships has felt slippery and undefined. You've reached for clarity and found fog. Today, that changes. Not because everything suddenly becomes simple. It won't. Pisces doesn't do simple. But today, Mercury and Neptune merge, and instead of working against each other, they work together. Your analytical mind and your emotional perception fuse, and you are able to, finally, clearly, understand something about one of your key relationships that has eluded you. It might be something beautiful. The sudden recognition of how deeply someone loves you, seen in a gesture so small, you almost missed it. The understanding that a connection you've been questioning is actually far more solid than your anxious mind has been telling you. The realization that someone in your life sees you in a way that your own self-perception has never quite allowed. Or it might be something harder. The recognition that a relationship has been built more on projection than on reality, that you've been so focused on who someone could be that you haven't been seeing who they actually are, that the idealized version of a partnership you've been holding on to has been obscuring the truth of what's actually in front of you. Either way, Virgo, this clarity is what you've been asking for. You've been circling this knowing for months. Today, Mercury drops a pin directly on it, and the relief of finally seeing clearly, even if what you see is complicated, that relief is real. Trust what you perceive today. Your mind and your heart are in rare, complete alignment. That's the gift of Mercury conjunct Neptune for Virgo. For one extraordinary day, the analytical and the intuitive aren't fighting each other. They're pointing at exactly the same thing. Now, even if you're not one of these three signs, you are absolutely still inside this energy. Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces creates a collective perceptual shift that touches every chart, every life, every conversation. It shows up differently depending on which house Pisces falls in for you, but the frequency is universal. For the fire signs, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Aries, this conjunction is moving through your 12th house, the realm of the subconscious, hidden fears, spiritual retreat. Today is extraordinarily powerful for inner work, journaling, meditation, or any practice that gets you below the surface of your conscious thinking. Something from your past that you've been carrying without fully examining it. Today it surfaces. Gently, but undeniably. Leo, this lands in your 8th house, the realm of deep transformation, shared resources, psychological depth. A truth about power or intimacy, or something you've kept hidden even from yourself, becomes suddenly visible. Sagittarius, your 4th house activates, bringing Neptunian dissolution to your foundations, your family stories, your sense of home. A revelation about where you come from, or where you truly belong, arrives today. For the air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Gemini, your ruling planet, is involved here, so you feel this acutely. Mercury conjunct Neptune lands in your 10th house, the house of career, public reputation, calling. Something about your professional path reveals its deeper meaning today. The thing you do and the reason you were born to do it suddenly line up. Libra, this moves through your 6th house, daily life, health, service, routine. A realization about how you spend your energy and whether it's actually aligned with what you value becomes unavoidable. Aquarius, your 2nd house of money, values, and self-worth, receives this energy. Something shifts in how you understand your own value, not your market value, but your soul value. What you're actually worth when you stop measuring yourself by external metrics. For the earth signs, Taurus and Capricorn. Taurus, this conjunction activates your 11th house, community, collective vision, future hopes, the vision you hold for your life, the people you want to build it with, the future you've been imagining. Today you feel whether that vision is truly yours or whether it's been borrowed from someone else's blueprint. Capricorn, your 3rd house of communication, thinking, and local connection, receives this energy. The way you speak, the stories you tell yourself, the mental frameworks you've been operating inside, today you see them with unusual clarity, and some of them won't survive that seeing. That's not a loss. That's a clearing. For Cancer. Cancer, this conjunction moves through your 9th house, philosophy, higher learning, belief systems, meaning-making. The story you've been telling yourself about why things are the way they are in your life, today that story becomes visible as a story, which means you get to choose whether to keep telling it or write a different one. That is genuinely enormous, Cancer. Don't let it pass without sitting with it. Okay, here's what I want you to understand about Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces and how to actually work with it rather than get swept away by it. First, and this is the most important thing I'll say today, don't make permanent decisions based only on what you feel right now. Neptune transits are beautiful, but they are not moments for signing contracts, ending long-term relationships, or making irreversible commitments. The perceptual field is too fluid. What feels absolutely certain in a Neptune fog can look completely different once the air clears. Receive the insights. Let them land. Give them a day or two before you act on them in ways you can't take back. Second, lean into the creative and the spiritual today and give the analytical a rest. This is not a day your rational mind is going to perform at its best, and fighting that is only going to exhaust you. If you push yourself to think with hard logic and precision right now, you're going against the current. But if you let yourself dream, create, meditate, move your body intuitively, have a conversation that goes somewhere unexpected, you're with the current. And the insights that arrive through that softer channel today can be genuinely life-changing. Third, be careful about what you consume today, in every sense of that word. Neptune rules substances, screens, immersive environments. You are more susceptible to absorption today than usual. That means media, other people's emotions, narratives being fed to you. They go deeper today. Choose deliberately what you let in. And fourth, write things down. The Neptunian insights that arrive today are real, but they're also slippery. They can evaporate by morning the way dreams do. If something arrives, a knowing, a realization, an image that feels like it means something, capture it. Because weeks from now, when Mercury is moving forward in a different sign and your mind is sharper and more linear, you're going to want to return to what you understood today, and you'll be grateful you wrote it down. Look, I know I've been building to this, but I genuinely mean it. Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces today is not a dramatic, explosive event. It doesn't announce itself with thunder. It arrives like a tide, quiet, inevitable, saturating everything it touches. And that's precisely why it's so profound. The most important shifts aren't always the loudest ones. Sometimes the thing that changes everything is a single moment of perception, a single moment where you see something you can't unsee, where you know something that reorders the entire context of your life. That is what Mercury conjunct Neptune in Pisces is capable of today. And it is capable of it right now, in this moment, as you're listening to this. The fog you've been walking through, the confusion, the self-doubt, the sense that you've been trying to see clearly through frosted glass, that fog has a purpose today. Because inside it, if you go still enough, if you let your mind soften instead of strain, you will find something true. Something that your logical, defended, everyday consciousness couldn't have found by itself. That's the gift. That's what this transit is for. And for Pisces, Scorpio, and Virgo especially, today is the day that thing arrives. The universe is not speaking in hints today. It's speaking directly into the part of you that has always known how to listen. So listen. The signal is here. The transmission is live. And what you receive today, right now, in this threshold moment, it matters more than you might immediately understand. All right. If you're still here, genuinely, truly, thank you. This kind of content takes everything I've got to put together, and the fact that you stayed through all of it means more than I can express. If something in this landed for you, if a piece of it opened something up or put language to something you've been feeling, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. I want to know which sign you are and what's been stirring for you this week. And if you want more of this, deeper dives, transit breakdowns, the kind of astrology that actually meets you where you are, hit that subscribe button. It's how this channel keeps growing, and it's how I keep being able to do this work. Pisces, Scorpio, Virgo, I especially want to hear from you today. Tell me what's shifting. Tell me what you're seeing that you couldn't see before. We are navigating this together. The veil is thin today. The signal is clear. Trust what arrives. Take care of yourself. Trust your perception. And I'll see you in the next one.